Hey, welcome to the confirmation recording. It's just a little recording to help you figure out what is confirmation going to be like this year.
It's going to be a little bit different, but I think we'll make it, huh?
I think it's going to be a little bit different, but the goal is still the same, to make sure each one of our students understands more about their faith so that they know what it is their faith is all about. Who is this God that we believe in, that, it happened in the waters of baptism?
So this year, we are going to talk all about the Bible. Our fall time together will be in the Old Testament, and our spring time together will be in the New Testament. So that's what you have to look forward to. We're going to move to a screen share mode right now, and we will kind of go through that review, or not review, but that packet that we usually go to, and we'll send this to you in an email as well. And so here is that.
And so, affirmation of baptism is a partnership between the parents, the church, the pastors, and our goal is to make sure each one of our students understand their faith, and that it's a journey. It's not just one moment, it's a journey. And when did this journey start? If you go down a little bit there, there's where it started. It started in the waters of baptism. Parents made a promise that in the waters of baptism, you were going to do some things. So parents, this is for you. You promised to bring them to service God's house, teach them the Lord's Prayer, the Creed, the Ten Commandments. Make sure that they have the scriptures in their hand and that they grow in their faith. Confirmation is really this growing in faith moment. We've given them Bibles along the way. You've presented them as parents. Now it's time to dig into that Bible. Figure out, what is that Bible all about? And what process are we going to use? So Quentin's going to talk a little bit about what does this process look like.
So it is going to look like, for those of you that have been through our confirmation in person, it's going to look pretty the same thing, only we're going to be meeting on Zoom. So each grade level will meet for a half hour. And so there are some things you need to bring. Bring your positive attitude. Bring a notebook and a pen, because just like class, you'll need to take notes, and we'll be having an end of the fall test, and so you'll be able to use those notes on that test. So make sure you bring a notebook and a pen or a pencil. Bring your Bible, bring a positive attitude, like we said. And the one thing, we put it on the letter kind of as a joke, but not really. Bring yourself fully dressed. And we put that kind of as a joke because my soon-to-be wife is a teacher, and last year she had some kids show up to a Zoom class that were shirtless, and I don't want to see that, and neither does Pastor Don.
No, and we don't want you in your pajamas either, because it's not that close. When we have class, it's not that close of time to go to bed, so no pajamas either. Come ready like you would be coming to church, to class.
So there's that. Did you want to talk about the going to church as a family part?
Well, so part of this, is that in a family, we come to church together. So I'm hoping that will include you. I'm hoping that you will go to church on Zoom, on FaceTime Live, but that you'll do it together. We'll be on every Sunday morning on Facebook Live. We're on the radio if you want to listen to the radio, and we're also on Channel 180 local cable access during the week. You have ways to find us and to listen to our service. My confirmation verse was this, and I still think my mom used this for all 8 of our kids. Train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not veer from that. And so from Proverbs 22, if you want to look up that verse, it's a great way to think about, what does this look like? And so be a family together, learn together. You can, mom and dad can help you with your sermon notes as long as they don't do them. They're yours to do.
Awesome. So when we look at confirmation, so like we said, it'll be on Zoom for a half hour, and each of the classes will be different. So 7th, 8th grade, and 9th grade will meet at different times.
And didn't they get a letter about this already?
They should have gotten a letter. Yeah. This should be no surprise.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen that letter, you need to go ask mom and dad, where's that stack of mail that you haven't opened yet? Because in that letter tells you how to do everything you need to do, how to get to our Zoom, and how to get to GimKit, where we do our little review each week, and how to get to Google Classroom.
Yep.
Everything, and that's where you need to register because we're going to be starting on the 16th. So if you haven't seen that letter, you need to go find the letter. If you didn't get that letter, you should call us here at the church. And what's our number?
320-269-8824. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 7:30 in the morning to 4:30 in the afternoon. And if that doesn't work for you, you can just shoot me or Pastor Don a text, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah, and so what are the requirements then for our 7th, 8th, and 9th graders?
Well, before we begin, we want to make sure that this is subject to change. These requirements are for the fall as we meet on Zoom, and if we are able to meet this spring, that might change. But right, student is required to have 20 worship note points if you're in 7th and 8th grade, and 15 if you're in 9th grade. And then we will have the fall research project and the spring research project. We'll get to that in a little bit. But before we continue, we want to make absolutely crystal clear what we're looking for worship notes this year. And they will be assigned on Google Classroom. You can turn them in on Google Classroom. And if your family decides they want to come to church in person, we'll have hard copies for you. But then we invite you to take them home and fill them out online and turn them in at Google Classroom, because due to the virus, we love you all, but we don't want to touch your papers that you have touched, just for the safety of us. So we want to dive into our worship notes, because last year we changed our grading system and some people had some struggles, and we want to make crystal clear what we're looking for. So here's what we got. Our expectations are that all the blanks are filled in. If you don't know what something is or means, please ask. That is our job to help you as teachers. Anything on that, Pastor Don?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's simple. The blanks are easy to fill out. This isn't really hard. Things like what color is on the altar? What color are those pyramids, those cloths that are on the altar? Filling out your name and the date are going to be especially important as you submit these. Just simple things like that. For the sermon part, please list at least 3 bullet points. In a 10 to 12 minute sermon, you should be able to list 15 points, but at least 3. 3 is a kind of a minimum for us. In the section for this week, I can pray for. Please pray for, list at least 3 names. Now, these can be personal people you want us to pray for, or you can go online and find at oslcwmonty.com. You can find our prayer list of the people who have asked for prayers from our church, and you can do it from there. But please fill out those blanks. Every blank is important, and that's part of our grading system.
And we do this too because we want you to get to know the people that are at our church. So we have a list of people that are on the prayer list for various health reasons, and so we'd prefer that you list 3 people from that list so you get to know them, and because they have asked for our prayers, and that's what we do as people of God.
And you know what? This fall, our picture directory is coming out.
Oh, there you go.
And so you'll be able to look in the picture directory after you see one of these names and put a name with it, so that you understand who our members are and start to know who they are. So that's a great way to combine the two. The prayer list is part of the bulletin each week. Yep. So when you go to the website, look for the current bulletin, you can find the prayer list.
And so please do that. Don't skip that. You'll be getting a check minus all fall if you do that. So that's, we put this on here. This is a screenshot of our bulletin. So on the list, you can see that where it asks for the Sunday, you put the 14th Sunday after Pentecost, or whatever the top of the bulletin says. And then the last word is the season of the church. So right up here, you can put Pentecost or whatever. So when we get, if you look back at your sheet, we have a check minus, a check, and a check plus grading system for our confirmation notes. What constitutes a check minus? That means 0 points. We'll note that you have to correct something, and we invite you to turn it back into us corrected, and you can get a check. So the student, whoever this student may be, left a question mark. That means they didn't know it, and well, what question mark to me means you didn't try and you didn't ask, and I don't like that.
And they left a question mark on season of the church. Well, that was right on the front of the bulletin. It was right there, right where you could see it. And so basically, they didn't do that.
Right here, it's our
It's
bullets.
the 14th Sunday after Pentecost. Pentecost would be the season. And we try to teach all of our confirmands what the seasons are. And if you'd like a list of those seasons, let us know. We'd be happy to put that out there for you as well.
They also got a check minus because they only put 2 out of 3 bullet points. And what I want to say about that too is bullet points are stuff that you got from the sermon. If I look at your bullet points and I can see that you just put basic Bible knowledge on there instead of what the sermon was all about. Yes, Jesus loves us and God forgives all of us was probably part of the sermon that Pastor Don preached on September 6th. But I know that before I open my Bible or before I listen to a sermon. And so that tells me that you didn't try or you didn't care, and you get credit the same way as that.
Yeah, and, and then down under praying for anyone sick or in the hospital, you have to, so this person put anyone who's sick in the hospital. That's really nice, but we want you to be way more specific than that. We have a list of people who specifically ask for us to pray for them. So just to put anyone who's sick in the hospital doesn't really, to me, that'd be like putting all the people in Sudan who are hungry.
Right.
That's nice, but can you name somebody? I actually know a lady who works in Sudan. Her name's Mary. How about if we pray for Mary, who's in Sudan helping the sick? Things like that. Be specific. This isn't just a general thing for that.
Yep, and then you'll see an X through this section. We'll probably take it out of the part that we post online because we don't really want you sharing paperwork with someone in the congregation. So you could ignore that at the time, this time. And then one thing that happened to me during the week, if you had something sad or you have something that you want us to pray for, and you don't want the whole world to know, you can just feel free to write that in there, and we'll be happy to pray for you. Or if you're, what else can we put there, Pastor Don?
Well, something that happened to you that's significant. Maybe you won a game, or you did something interesting on Zoom, or in one of your classrooms. How's your class? How's your class at school doing something? Something that's impacted your life, made your life interesting. Things like that. That's what really that blank is about. Something that's happened during the week that maybe changed your life in a small way, maybe in a big way. So that could be lots of things.
Just another way for you to connect with us and us to get to know some of our 7th graders a little bit more.
Yep. Yeah, and so, the whole thing is, again, if you were going to summarize this, I would say a check plus. That means you've done a fantastic job.
Yep.
A check means you did okay, but you've got a little bit that you could do better. A check minus just means you didn't. It doesn't look like to us that you tried. Now, as we always say to everybody, if you have trouble listening to a sermon and all that, you need to contact us. If your student has trouble learning, we need to know that, because we will work with anybody who wants to work with us. The beautiful part about the way we're doing it right now is if you didn't catch all the sermon the first time, you can go back and you can replay that Facebook Live as many times as you need to get what you need for this sermon note form. There should be no problem with this at all.
So here's an example of that. Like we said, just kind of what we need. All the I's are crossed, all the T's are dotted, and just what we're looking for right here. All the blanks are filled in, they're correct. There was no sacraments. There's 3 bullet points. There's try to use a complete sentence down here. This person didn't, shame on them. 3 people that are on our prayer list, and things you want us to know. So that's hitting the target. Great stuff.
And the other thing that's really important up at the top is that you fill in your first and last name. Mm-hmm. We might have more than one Cole in our class. We might have more than one Teresa in our class. We might have more, so make sure your first and last name and get that date on there. Mm-hmm. Many times people either just write Bob, and then they forget the date. Put your whole name and the date. That's really important.
So above and beyond work, they had all the information correct, and it's preferably spelled correctly. There's no reason to misspell Pentecost. It's on the front of the bulletin. You look like a goofball if you do. The person put 5 bullet points, and they're all related to the sermon. They used more than one idea of the sermon. You know, it's a 10 to 12 minute sermon. Ideally, you get more than one idea from it. They put a lot of different people that we're praying for, and then they also put someone in their life that we can all pray for. So they went above and beyond, and for me to get a check plus, I really like to see 5 bullet points and 5 names. It means you went above and beyond, and you took the extra 15 seconds is all it takes to add a few more extra things.
Absolutely, and you filled out the whole form. It's all filled out. You got the season right, the color, what the color is up on the front, and the altar. You got everything filled out right. That's a great, boy, that Quentin Markfort, the guy who did this, he did an excellent job on that form.
He went above and beyond. He's probably a pretty decent student.
I would think so.
I'd like to believe so. So just one last thing. Why should we care about getting a check plus each and every week? Well, it shows you care, and it shows that you want to learn. And for me, as we keep a spreadsheet of all your scores throughout the fall and the year. And so if you're a person that gets a lot of check pluses and you have an off week and it's kind of mediocre, I might tend to give you a check plus just because I know that, you know, maybe it's just a bad day.
Well, and I would agree. Sometimes at the bottom, you know, somebody will say, you know, the sermon note wasn't really good, but at the bottom might say, you know, my grandpa died. Well, that impacted your whole week, and I will grade that sermon notes very differently because I know that they're having a rough week because it's hard to say goodbye to Grandpa. And so, you know, those are all pieces for that as well, you know, and it's really about working at it.
And when we get to working at it, the real reason you should strive for a check plus is it's simple math. If you get a check plus every single time, you will be done in 12 weeks. That means you will be done before Christmas, and you will not have to worry about sermon notes until next September. If you don't, you will get 1 point a week for 20 weeks is 5 months, September, October, November, December, January, plus vacation and missing 1 or 2. You'll be doing them till February.
So yeah, it's easy. It's simply a choice. How hard am I going to work at this to get it done?
So we invite you to work hard and get them done as soon as you can. We're going to go back to our requirements page. We got one more thing. There's going to be some memory work. We're going to invite you at some point with your family to memorize the books of the Bible. And those will be a form that you can fill out and bring back to us. And that'll be a part of confirmation. You will not pass a year without it.
Yeah, and it's simple to do. You can even learn a song. If your family wants to learn a song, let us know. We have a piece of music where you can learn the books of the Bible to a piece of music. If someone likes to sing or play piano, we can find that for you. However you want to memorize those books of the Bible, you know, we can do it for you.
The last part of our requirements, or one of the last ones, is that we're going to ask each student to participate in a research project. You will be researching a book of the Old Testament or a person in the Old Testament that are listed here. This will be a 5 to 7 minute research project. We invite you to use 3 sources. I don't want to read this whole thing to you because you can read it. We're going to send this out in an email. But the gist of it is that you're going to present your knowledge using 3 sources. You can do it like just by notes. You can use a PowerPoint. 5 to 7 minutes. We don't have enough time to teach everything that we want to teach this year. So we need your help. So a good way to do it is live in Zoom, or you can record it and share it with us as a video on screen sharing for those of you that might not like doing live presentations. We need your help in learning and teaching because we don't have enough time because each student or each grade level only gets a half hour. And so this also replaces your service project and acolyting requirements. And so it's just a way to help us with the teaching and learning. Anything else you want to add?
Well, what I would add about it is that it's just a great way for our students to participate in that Zoom in those 30 minutes. So we're going to try and do a short video of what the priority of the lesson, and then after a couple of weeks, people will start presenting their projects that they've done. Because that way it breaks up that time, because otherwise you got to listen to me or Quentin for 30 minutes straight, and we know how it went last spring. Quentin and I watched how it went last spring, and those were usually about 40 minutes. And after about 5 minutes, some of you were sitting looking up in the sky, looking around, like, oh, good Lord, I hope this is over. So this will be a way to make it really interesting. So you'll get to participate and tell us about some of these people in the Bible or books of the Bible, how they ended up there. It's an interesting thing. I always tell people, I think the Bible is the most interesting thing we can study, because it really tells us a lot about our history, who we are as God's people, and about our past, but it also tells us a lot about our future. And so it's a really interesting book to study.
I want to add this disclaimer, and I'm really serious about it. I made a presentation that's also going to be posted about this, and it's an example. And in there, I show you a lot of different books that are in my library here at Our Savior's. I know Pastor Don also has a bunch of books in his office library, and then we also have a church library that you can use for sources. So if you need help with books, reach out to us, but preferably give us a couple days notice that said, hey, can you send me a copy of this, or help me out? I chose to do Adam and I need some help, and I would love to help you, but give me a couple days warning so I have enough time to get what you need. And please, please, please reach out to us if you're struggling. We're here to help, and we want to make sure that this is fun, but you got to do your part and reach out if you need help, and don't procrastinate and do this the night before.
Right. So if they needed something from a book we had, what I would do in this COVID time is I would probably make you copies of the page that talks about your person on that.
Yeah.
Say maybe it's the prophet Ezekiel. I'd make a copy of that, and through our copier here, we can send it to you. We can send it to you as an email.
Yeah.
And we just send you that email information that you could use as part of your project. So we can get any information you need. Just make sure if you're out there looking on the internet that you check your sources.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff on the internet is not true.
And that's why we ask you to not use Wikipedia, because you can go on there and say that Pastor Don was best friends with the prophet Ezekiel, and anybody can add that, and that is not and that is not correct information.
I'm not that old.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not quite that old. So I would have liked to have been friends with Ezekiel, but it just didn't happen. So, Wikipedia is just a bad source. Try to find other things. And there are sites, and if you need help, let us know, and we'll try to let you know of good places you could look as well.
And you can do that too in the example video I made, I listed at least 5 different websites.
Great.
So we're here to help you, but we're not going to do your project for you. And you need to do the research yourself. So the requirements are pretty much the same, whether you choose a person or a book. Same idea with questions and whatnot. So that's the research project. Please call, text, or email with questions.
And if you don't choose, within a couple of weeks, we will assign you somebody.
We will assign you somebody or some book by the first class period. So you have from now until the first class period to email me. Please don't email Pastor Don. We'll just do one person. Email me with your choice, and only one person per book or person.
Yes. And it should be, this first half of the year should be somebody out of the Old Testament or one of the Old Testament books.
Yep.
So pick an Old Testament, a character out of the Old Testament. See, if I was thinking about it, off the top of my head, I would think of somebody like Job. He has an interesting story.
Oh, Job is good.
Or Noah. Noah would be an interesting story. Adam and Eve and what happened in the garden would be great for someone to research. If I were thinking about a book, I would look at the book of Psalms. That would be very interesting how Psalms was put together. So there's lots of possibilities for you, but you have to get them to us. Otherwise, we'll help you find something.
So right here, books and people. Those are your list. Just a few to pick from. Just a few people. There's so many great characters. But choose a book or a person and email Quentin, qmarkfort@gmail.com, your choice. do it sooner than later because one person per book or topic. And if you are the second person, I'll just say, too bad, pick a different one. So on to, we talked about memory work. Pastor Don, do you want to talk about participation?
So really, participation in this COVID time is you're expected to view one of our, or attend a weekly worship service. Now, you can watch it either on Facebook Live or you can come here to church. You have those optional. And then, submit your sermon notes. That should not be hard through the Google process. In class, we're hoping you're coming to class with what you need to prepare, but you're also coming ready to learn and listen. And then confirmation and parents, you guys should talk about how's it going? Parents, you should say, how's it going? What can we do to help? How are those sermon notes doing? All of those stuff. So that it's really a partnership together. I mean, this is a partnership with the church, the pastors, and these students and the parents. We're all in this together, and we want to make it easy as we can. This COVID-19 time, it's really hard on everybody, so let's try and make the best of it.
And then in the middle of the year, around December, we'll send you how many sermon notes you're going. If you're missing anything, and let you know.
And I have an important point about that. So I always tell people about sermon notes. So once they've been corrected and you know what they are, keep a copy of that somehow. Keep a copy or write them down. Say on the 6th of September, I have sermon notes, and on this date, because guess what? Sometimes, if you can believe it, sometimes I forget to write them in the book.
Oh.
I forget to record them. We have an Excel spreadsheet we record them in, and sometimes I forget. And so then I'll have a confirmant saying, well, I thought I had 12 points. Well, I've only got that you have 10, and twice since I've been here in 18 years, twice, they said, well, I've got all my sermon notes, and we went through them, and you know what? They were right, I was wrong. So keep track. We are human beings, and we make mistakes, and other things come up along the way. We have lots of things to do. We don't just sit and correct sermon notes.
Nope.
People call, people come in. We have funerals to do and weddings to plan for. So our minds sometimes get too many things in them. And I might correct your sermon notes, but then I forget to put it in Excel. So make sure you keep track of when you did them. At the end of the day, if that's what you did, we'll work it out with you and we'll just believe you.
I think that's about all we have. Thanks for listening. We do have one important housekeeping item. There's several, I won't name the number, but there's several of you who still have outstanding worship notes from last year. It's not a great place to be in, and so if that is you, please get a hold of us. We need to work something out.
Yep, we need to get a plan so that everybody's on the same page when we move forward.
Yep, so please do that.
Thank you all.
Thank you all, and may you be blessed, and please reach out with questions.